Congratulations, you landed that killer new listing in the nice neighborhood you're looking for, and things are going well. But what are you going to do to ensure you get new business in that neighborhood moving forward? What's happening? J.C Agajanian here, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group, and today we're talking about direct mail for sellers, but not just the traditional listed and sold pieces. We're going to take it a little bit further today. What can we do to supplement these more traditional postcard type mail pieces that are so common in our industry? How can we make the most out of our sales in specific neighborhoods to make sure that new business continually flows and we're able to stay working in that neighborhood? Well, brand consistency and integrity is very important. One thing that you could do is to take maybe one of those nice folded thick stock marketing brochures that you might bring to a listing appointment or something like that. You've got them printed out already. Maybe you send these out in addition to the just sold, just listed campaign to the same group of people, and you've put it in like a really cool, different looking envelope. You've got that marketing piece that you might sit down with a seller in, and you add a letter explaining what you do, what you're doing right down the street, and how you might be able to help them. Most importantly, you're adding a link or a QR code or some way for them to get information on their home's value as well. This is a great supplement to a traditional listing campaign and really boost the impact of what you're trying to do. You can use the EDDM mail delivery system. It's a cheaper way to go about it, especially with larger pieces of mail like we're talking about. Let's not forget the concept of simply expanding on what we're all doing. Nobody is limited to a just listed or just sold campaign. We frequently do coming soon campaigns, then we follow with a just listed campaign. We often follow that up with a door knock, a phone call, and a text message inviting people to a large blowout of an open house. Then you can follow that up with a just pended campaign, hit them with the just sold, give it a little bit more time, come back with a buyer letter. Maybe you've got a buyer that you met from the open houses at this listing that missed out on that property and now they want something else in the neighborhood. And then you can follow it up with circle dials to that same group again, reaching out to see if they've gotten your information and if they might know anybody who fit that need for your buyer. I mean, this takes the simple idea and really blows it out and creates a ton of different touches for the same group of people that you're already targeting. Personalizing the message within these pieces is a game changer as well. I mean, using their specific address in the copy of the postcard, their name instead of Mr. Seller or buyer or neighbor in the postcard. These are things that are going to impact your open rate and your response rate, but they can be extremely time consuming and difficult to do. If you have the funds for it, there's a company called Celebrity Agent. They do these things. They look handwritten, they are customized, and they're using AI so that they even know that maybe Mr. and Mrs. Smith here have a single family home that's 2 bedrooms larger than the one you just sold, and that happens to match up perfectly with what your buyer's looking for. It's very creative and it's very specific. So if you can fund a system like that, it's a great one to automate and bring on board. If you don't have that check equity, it's up to you to use that sweat equity. But the goal is the same. Let's get as personal as possible and make sure they know we're talking to them and not just anyone in the neighborhood. After all of this effort is said and done, hopefully you've got a decent amount of leads that you've generated from each listing, and that's awesome. But you've got to keep in mind, these people weren't reaching out for information. They weren't Googling, find my next listing agent online. They just happen to live in a neighborhood where you sold a home. So even if they have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in my home's value, I may sell in the future, it's most likely going to be a long-term nurture. You've got to be aware that this is just the beginning of this relationship that you have initiated. You've made inroads with each person, but you're going to have to continue to follow up, get new responses, and stay in touch with them for the future. Honestly, probably around 10% or so of these types of leads may transact within the next year. Most of them are going to be longer term, 2+ years in the future. So your follow-up game has got to be on point. I mentioned door knocking and circle dialing as a supplement to these cards earlier, and it's not something to ignore. One idea to really separate yourself out so you're not just going to be viewed through the Ring door cam as another telemarketer looking to sell some solar or who knows what else, is to present yourself like Ed McMahon used to with the Publishers Clearinghouse. He would show up with a big sign and balloons and say, congratulations, you won a bunch of cash. But obviously we're not going to show up and give these prospects a bunch of cash. It's a pattern interrupt and it's going to get their attention. You're going to get a lot more doors opened. Now this seems really weird, but stay with me and you're going to understand where we're headed. So you got a big sign, maybe just white or something basic that says congratulations on it. And people are going to open the door more frequently because you're standing there with balloons and a big sign, right? And so the idea is to explain to the neighbor, hey, I just sold your neighbor's home. There's some new neighbors here and they just fell in love with this neighborhood, this part of town. They really love the house that they purchased, but they're really a little bit concerned of losing this sense of community, this personal network that they loved in their old neighborhood. And so I'm trying to help out here. I want to just see if you might be willing to sign this congratulations card, make a brief note so that they know there's a loving community here in this neighborhood they're just moving into. We'd really appreciate it. So you're giving them a reason why you're standing there like a dummy with balloons and a sign, but it makes sense and it's very heartfelt and they will relate to that. Important to note, I have not mentioned any call to action. Maybe give them a lottery ticket for their time, tell them you appreciate it and you're thankful that they're willing to welcome your new buyer into the neighborhood. By the way, this doesn't have to be your new buyer. We're talking about listings, remember? So you can go ahead and adopt that buyer because you know very well that their buyer's agent will probably close that transaction and the buyer will never hear from them again. So all you have to do is the standard stuff that we talk about, staying in touch with past clients. And you can do that with someone else's buyer that purchased your listing. And now you've got a new past client in your database. But like I said, no call to action. This type of door knock will actually create natural conversations about the sale price of that home, how the transaction went, but more importantly, they're probably going to be curious about the value of their home. Now we go about standard operating procedure. We offer them a version of a home valuation update. We love to use HomeBot. There's a system called Fellow that's fantastic. But basically it's a new lead for you to direct mail, for you to follow up with in the future, for you to call from time to time, for you to invite to the quarterly events that I hope you're throwing for your past clients and your sphere of influence. This is someone now that you can bring into your network, into your sphere, and help expose them to all that you do for your clients. And even if they weren't quite interested in receiving some sort of monthly email about their home's value, you're still not going to do a call to action. You're not going to ask them to fill out a form or give you their name and phone number and email and all that stuff. We know their name. We know their address. That's good enough for now. We can go ahead and use True People Search or Been Verified or something else like that to fill in any details we might not have. But most importantly, we've now got an address and a name. The tax records are going to give us information if we only got a first name, and we can incorporate them into our database and assign the appropriate marketing campaign to them just like anyone else in our CRM. So that's it for the tips on maximizing your listings and doing a little bit more than the typical just listed, just sold campaigns. I hope you found it helpful and interesting. More importantly, I hope you found something you can take and implement into your business and go make more money with it. Feel free to reach out with questions or comments below or send me a message directly. Look forward to talking to you soon.